What's up guys, welcome back to Anime King 3. There's a few important things I want to talk about before starting this brand new series, regarding my other series that is. First of all, I'm going to be giving you a new series. What if Naruto got the karma from a rogue, exile Otsutsuki guys. And as towards my other series, I'm not going to be continuing What if Naruto got the Blue Beetle. Yes guys, I'm not going to be continuing that. Working on the other series, I just kind of lost interest in that one guys, so I'm not going to be continuing that, so I'm going to be replacing it with this, because I can't just leave you guys hanging, so this is to replace What if Naruto got the Blue Beetle. Other than that, everything else is still going. Quark, Immortal Otsutsuki, Orochimaru's son, Six Eye, Demigod, and Original Hybrid, yes. Those are still in place, so there is nothing to worry about those. But I'm not going to be continuing What if Naruto got the Blue Beetle. So yeah, sit back, relax, and I hope you guys keep on enjoying these. So without further ado, let's jump right into this brand new episode again. Now guys. We begin this episode at the Hidden Leaf. Today was October 10th. It was a time of sadness and also a time of joy as well. Both of them wrapped up into one. There was a party at the Namikaze Manor at the moment. The Namikaze Manor, home of several individuals, those being Minato Namikaze, his wife, Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze, their two daughters and their son. On this very night, 6 years ago, a massive beast was set loose on the village, torn from his wife, used by a Uchiha. The beast had tried to rain chaos and destruction throughout the Hidden Leaf. Minato was a deeply saddened man on that day, as he knew that today he will have to make the ultimate sacrifice and leave his children and wife behind, as he knew that he had to do this as a Hokage. However, the third Hokage had begged him, pleaded with him to let him do it. He had already served his time as Hokage, he had lived a wonderful life, raising his children. He couldn't be any more satisfied. Minato need to survive this. He need to be here, he need to be here for his kids. Thus, the third Hokage was the one that performed the sealing. He summoned the famous death god to split the Kyuubi in half. Upon doing that, he sealed half inside of each girl's. One inside of Natsume and the other one inside of Mito, making the both of them the newest Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. As he gave up his life, however, there was still a problem. Kushina, with the beast being ripped out of her, there was a chance of her death. However, there was so much residue of the fox power around, Minato was able to bring it together and seal it inside of his wife. She had passed out and she had slipped into a coma. She slipped into a coma for 3 months. The doctors had constantly kept a check on her to make sure that she would survive, doing their absolute best. It was a touch and go scenario, but she pulled out of it. Yes, she pulled out of it and she was alive, able to live. Minato couldn't be any more happier. So at the moment, they were having a celebration for their kids, as today was their birthday. They were now 6 years old. Both girls were downstairs as they were talking with their friends. Several clan heads and several other children were there as well. Today was a great night. However, up the stairs in his room, sitting on his bed, was a boy. His room was dark. There was only a small lamp to the side that gave off any light, as it gave off a blue hue that spread throughout the section that he was. At the moment, he was packing a few things in a bag. As he checked over the supply, tonight will be the night that he leave and never return back to the village or to his family. Now one might ask, why was he running away? Why was he doing this? After all, he was a child, he should be downstairs, having fun with his friends and family. But the thing was, he didn't have any friends. This boy right here was Naruto Namikaze. Unlike his sisters, that possessed red hair like their mother, and blue eyes like their father, sharing the traits between both family member. Naruto had pale, blonde hair. Minato here was bright, sun-kissed bright, however Naruto here was mostly white. His hair seemed to have lost all the base, lost all its life. But it wasn't his hair alone. His cheeks were sunken. His body was malnourished. You could see his ribs. All in all, he looked fragile. His eyes were so dim. They were blue, but they were so dim it was hard to tell. Even though the shirt that he had on was very small, it seems like it would just fall off if he moved too much. As he had on black pants as well, along with his blue shirt. The reason why he was this way was because of the way he was born. There was a reason why Minato was going to seal half of the beast inside of Mito and half in Natsume. When Naruto was just born, he was not breathing. Both Minato and Kushina were shocked to hear that. They felt like their heart was breaking hearing that. They had lost their son before they even got to know him. However, they were able to revive him. But Naruto was born with a lot of complications. It doesn't matter how much he ate, he did not seem to retain any of the body mass that would gain from eating, signifying his weak stature. Throughout his life of 6 years old, Naruto has been in the hospital around 50 times that he could count, and every time he went there was another problem. Some days he had it bad. Some days he could barely even move. Some days he could barely even talk. There was always a problem with him. He seemed to be cursed. He had slipped in and out of coma for majority of his life. His body just seemed to be dying on its own. It doesn't matter what treatment, what fix they tried to come up with. Nothing worked. It doesn't matter how hard they try. Minato had even specified using some of the fox chakra in order to help his son. But that had a negative reaction to him. It seems that Naruto's body was just actively trying to kill him for some reason. But despite that, his family loved him. They loved him. And that is what Naruto hated. Naruto hated what his sickness was doing to them. Every time he would go to the hospital, every time his mother and father heard bad news, he saw them breaking a little bit on the inside. His sisters were mostly kept away from the bad news, but they could tell that things were not getting worse. He could not count the amount of time he heard his mother crying about his health, and it broke his heart more and more to see them so sad. On the good days when he was able to go to the park with his two sisters, bullies always set their sight on him. People believing that he was not actually their brother. They call him a monster. Yes, children can be really cruel. His sisters had gotten into a lot of fights because of him. They had tried to protect him, trying to protect his image, his name. But Naruto just felt sad, as he overheard people in the village speaking on many occasions that he brought shame to the family name. Both of his sisters were excelling at the ninja arts at a very young age. They were just naturally good, like his parents. However, Naruto did not make friends like how they did, because it was hard for him to make friends. If he even tried, it would be hard to play with them, because he was so fragile. The slightest thing could, hurt him badly. When the doctors told him that he could never be a ninja, he had cried, as he wanted to be a ninja like his mother and father, but he couldn't. But he was stubborn. So what he did was spy on their training, and he tried to unlock his chakra by himself. He ended up spending 5 months in the hospital because of that, further worsening his sickness. His mother had been disappointed, but she couldn't stay mad at him for too long. She had just hugged him as gently as possible, as she told him to never do something like that again. He saw how sad, how depressed, how much his sickness was weighing on his parents, and his sisters as well. He could not even imagine the amount of time they had cried when he wouldn't wake up in the hospital. Naruto felt sad for all the things that he has done to them. He truly believed that he was cursed, that he was never supposed to be born, because all he brought them was misery and chaos, and he was tired of that. That is why he was gonna leave. Naruto did not fear death. From he could understand the world around him, he knew that death was a high possibility for him very soon. He thought that it would come for him at a younger age, but he was wrong. And he was disappointed in that. He just wanted the pain to go away. And he did not want to put his family through any more suffering themselves. That is why he was leaving. He knew that they would be sad by him just leaving like that. Yes, but he was sure that after some time they would move on. They would no longer have to suffer because of him. Because of his illness. Today was a good night. He did not feel as weak as usual. However, he already had it planned out. However, one thing, because of him not being able to actually doing most things that were strenuous, he was incredibly smart. He read a lot, and thus, he had planned things out perfectly. The timing, everything. That is why he was waiting. Naruto zipped his bag shut as he pushed it under his bed. He then rolled into bed and lied down. He just had to wait until everyone go to sleep. That is all that he had to wait for. That is when he heard someone at his door. He closed his eyes as the person slowly opened said door. Slow footsteps reached his bed, as Naruto could feel a person staring at him. As he released steady, calming breath, standing there was his sister, Natsume Namikaze. Her hair was braided going down into her back. She was wearing a beautiful blue dress with a white ribbon on the side, and also a pair of elegant blue shoes. She reached out as she stroked his cheek. She felt sad for her little brother. She knew that he wanted to be a part of their festivities and train with them, but he could not. Despite only being a few seconds older than him, she treated Naruto like her kid brother, who she was responsible to take care of. She loved her brother, and she just wanted him to be safe. She had prayed many nights for some kind of divine intervention to help him get better, but nothing changed. She leaned down as she kissed him on the forehead. As she pulled back, "Happy birthday, and good night," she said. With that, she walked out and closed the door. Naruto could not help it. Once she was gone, a few tears slipped from his eyes. Deeply saddened by his actions that he was going to commit tonight. But he just couldn't anymore. He could not stand seeing the look on their faces. He could not stand. Put them through so much more heartache. He loved them too much. Time skip. As the party downstairs came to a winding end, Naruto heard his door open once again as his mother and father came in to check upon him. Once they made sure that he was okay, they made their way, leaving his room. Naruto was sure that they had a lot of presents for him that they want to give him tomorrow, seeing that he told them that he was not feeling so well. But his other sister Mito came in as she placed something down on his nightstand. She wanted her present to him to be the first that he opened. As she left the room, it was bedtime. Once they were gone, Naruto quickly got up out of the bed. He looked toward a small box. He picked it up as he undid the bow on it. Opening said box, Naruto found a locket, as it was attached to a chain. Picking it up, Naruto opened it. Immediately, tears were brought to his eyes. On one side of the locket was him, his two sisters, as both of them had an arm around him, hugging him. On the other side was his parents, looking over at them with a warm smile. Naruto clutched onto it tightly as the tears fell, dropping on the bed. He hooked it around his neck as he slowly picked himself up. He waited after a good hour, making sure that everyone had went to sleep. He only had 10 minutes to get this done. It was a good thing that the Namikaze compound was not so far away from the main gates. When he take through the backyard, Naruto propped his window open. On his night table was a note that he had left behind for his family to read. A note explaining everything. He had set everything up perfectly. There was a metal pole beside his window. As Naruto held on to a piece of parchment and wrapped it around it and used it to slide down. As he landed on his feet, his backpack on his back, his father's special envoys were watching the place always. But there was a crawl space under the house. Naruto had planned this perfectly so he would not get caught. As Naruto went under the crawl space, it was tight and small, but he was small enough to crawl through. The crawl space led him to the other side, which there was a small opening, as Naruto had covered it with bushes and all kind of things to make it look unassuming. He moved all of that. As he moved the small parchment that was over it, he then crawled through the hole. Said hole went underground. A few earth animals had been digging through it. as Naruto had saw it as a way to get through as a tunnel, so he had digged perfectly. Time after time, this took him a couple of months. He had been planning for a long while. Now that he was able to get under, as he went under the fence, seeing that the backyard of their house lead towards a forest that was fenced off. Once Naruto emerged on the other side, he reached into his backpack as he pulled out something. A personal concoction of his, an intense, advanced smell that would hopefully avoid the Inuzukas from tracking him down. As Naruto spread it on himself and the area, he then walked around the foliage and spread it all over the place. But he was not done yet. As Naruto made his way, there was a small little hut. There was rabbits inside. He had found them some time ago, as Naruto sprinkled the smell on them. Upon them being a salty bite, they ran around, spreading it all over the place even more. Hopefully that would buy him some more time. The map locked in his mind, Naruto made his way straight. As he turned to the left, then made 3 rights, then turned. Before he came towards the intersection, he turned towards the right. He then came across a huge foliage. As Naruto crawled underneath it, his backpack getting stuck, but he pulled it out. Upon crawling underneath it, Naruto arrived towards a forest. A forest that was connected to one of the training grounds. It took him some time, but he was able to clear it as he arrived. Finally, he saw the road. Right on time, Naruto thought, as he saw the carriage. Every night at this point, there were several supplies that were being shipped out of Konoha. Reaching into his backpack, Naruto pulled out a rope as he wrapped it around his waist as tightly as it could without hurting him too much. He had to do this perfectly. He had to time this perfectly as Naruto waited and waited and waited before he rolled into the road. Naruto looked down as he saw the carriage. It rolled right over him. Because of the dark sky, they were unable to see him. Naruto then reached up as he held on to the underside. It was hard, extremely so, for someone like him, but he made his way. As he tied the rope for extra security, and he held on, wrapping his foot around it, and his arms around the steel underneath, as he gripped on tightly. As he pulled his backpack up a bit so it would not rub against the ground. They came to a stop as Naruto heard voices. It was the guards. This was the last shipment going out tonight. As Naruto was already starting to pant from holding on for so long, his body was not able to expend so much energy without getting extremely tired. Come on, Naruto begged in his mind, hoping that they would just let them go already. As he waited and waited, finally they started to move once again. As Naruto breathed a sigh of relief. Once they were away from the village, after a good 5 minutes, Naruto felt his hand losing strength. Shit, he cursed to himself. He dropped to the ground his backpack, stopping from gaining any major injuries, seeing that it bumped on the ground. However, the rope was still tied on. He did not mean to let go. His hands had just gave out. As Naruto realized that the rope was still attached, quickly reaching his backpack as he was being dragged, Naruto pulled out a small knife as he started quickly rub it extremely hard. That is when he heard, "Hey, do you hear something?" Naruto started panic as he rubbed and rubbed and rubbed until it finally gave way. He then rolled off to the side. He was unaware that it would be so steep. As Naruto rolled before coming to a stop, bumping into a tree. He held his mouth so he would not cry out in pain. As he hid under the foliage, seeing the man looking over the edge. "What the hell is this rope?" he heard his partner ask. Naruto held his breath, holding in the pain. He had slammed against a tree with his right arm, and it was now hurting him a lot. Hearing the man walk away from the edge, Naruto pulled himself up. Holding onto his arm, Naruto ran as fast as he could down the hill. As he moved down until he came to a stop, as he took several deep breaths, he released a sigh. He got away, but he still had to move. He willed his legs to keep moving forward and keep moving forward. Time skip. A few hours later, Naruto was breathing heavily as he lay against the side of the road. Well, not really the road, in the foliage. As he had to take a breather. Despite the night being cold, he was caked in sweat. He reached into his bag and pulled out a small towel. As he wiped his face off, he then pulled out a bar. It barely had any sweet flavor in it. It was more for nutrients and energy which he needed right now. As Naruto bit down on it and pulled out the water bottle that he had and drink some of it, before placing them back in his bag. Naruto then got back to his feet. He had no idea where he was going, but he knew how dangerous the place was. Extremely so. And there was a 100% chance that he would not make it. However, Naruto did not fear death. He knew it was coming one way or another. So why not just enjoy the little time by just seeing new places before he kicked the bucket? At least he would spare his family to see him going through more agonizing pain and end up in the hospital at least 10 more times before he passed away. He could tell that his time was coming soon. So why not just spare them that pain? Yes, he knew they would be sad for a long while, but he prayed that they get over it. Get over him. He just wanted them to be happy. They've done enough. There is no need for them to hold their life back because of him. As Naruto kept on moving, he arrived towards a steep, extremely so, hill. As Naruto was looking down, it wasn't really a hill but a slope with a lot of water down at the bottom. Naruto reached into his shirt and pulled out the locket. As he looked at the photo, he smiled to himself. That is when he caught something, a glimpse, a reflection from the glass that was inside. As Naruto turned his gaze and glanced up to the heavens, as he saw a bright, beautiful star. Wow, I've never seen a star so big before. Naruto thought to himself. Wait, why does it look like it's coming towards me? Naruto thought. His eyes went wide. That's not a star. He tried to run, but he was not fast enough. Boom! Naruto was thrown by a colossal explosion. Naruto's head was spinning and swimming. His body felt numb. He could not feel a damn thing. He couldn't feel anything. Why? Why couldn't he feel anything? Naruto tried to understand why. As something was blocking his vision. His body was extremely failed, so the hit, it did him badly. Reaching up, Naruto realized that his head was bleeding. A lot, like an extreme amount. However, when Naruto looked down, that is when he was shocked. As Naruto saw, he was impaled. The tree branch that he was blasted into had impaled him right through his back. Because of his body being so weak, it had just tear right through him. His legs were soaked in blood. Naruto was shocked. Tears started to gather in his eyes. He knew the possibility of him dying, either by sickness or by any people out here that he could not escape. However, now seeing himself bleeding out, Naruto started to become fearful. Tears started to streak down his face. As he cried out in pain, he took several deep breaths before pulling himself off the tree branch. He cried as he collapsed, trying to hold on to the wound, but it was so painful. His body spasmed. His eyes started to dim. As he then noticed ahead of him was the necklace, the locket. His hand reached towards it. It was already open, as blood was smeared on their faces. He reached and tried to grab it, but a reflection caught his view. Turning his head slightly, Naruto saw someone crawling out of the crater that was just formed. He could not see their face, but the outline was definitely a woman. As a person walked towards him, as Naruto wondered, who exactly was it? What was going on, he thought. The person walked until they collapsed on their knees right in front of him. That is when Naruto saw that they were covered in blood, so much of it. The person breathing was ragged, just like himself, as Naruto could not see their face. The person reached up, as Naruto's hand subconsciously reached up as well. He was gonna die, as he needed someone in this moment. This person seemed like they were gonna die as well. They could comfort each other. Their hands touched, and Naruto felt a spasm ran through his body. It felt like something had electrocuted him. He wasn't sure if it was because of the pain in his stomach or what just happened, but his body rolled. For some reason he rolled over, unaware how close he was to the edge. As for the person, after touching his hand, their body broke apart into strange flicker of lights. It was beautiful, Naruto thought. Said flicker rushed into his hand. Once again he felt something as he moved. However, this movement caused him to fall. Naruto's eyes widened as he realized he was falling off. However, he accepted his fate. Sorry, Mom. Sorry, Dad, said Naruto. Mito. Natsumai. I'm so sorry. All I wanted was for you guys to be happy. I don't want to cause you guys any more pain. I love you all. At least now you guys can move on. Please. Please move on, Naruto thought to himself. I just want you guys to be happy. He said his final words. I love you guys. I love you all. So, this is what death feel like, huh? Huh. I thought it would hurt more, Naruto thought as he splashed into the water. Meanwhile, at the Namikaze household, Kushina had woken up to use the bathroom. She was deeply saddened that her son was not feeling well for him to come to the party. Over the years, she has been through a lot mentally and physically. Naruto had slipped into comas in and out for majority of his life. All she wanted was for him to be happy, to spend time with his siblings without worrying about any medical health or anything. She just wanted him to live a normal life, but life was unfair sometimes. And there was nothing they could do about it. It seems like her special Uzumaki resilient and healing ability did not pass down into him, something she was greatly saddened for. But it doesn't matter as long as she have her son. She would cherish him, like how she did her daughters. She would make sure that he feels special and loved. She loved him, greatly so. Yes, it was taxing, everything was. But that was the job of a mother, right? To love your children unconditionally. And she does love him unconditionally. She decided to go and check up on him, to make sure he was sleeping well. As she silently opened the door, expect to see him there. However, there was nothing. He was not there. She moved inside. As she moved the sheets, she looked over the side of the bed. She looked under the bed. She went to the bathroom, one that was connected to his room. However, he was nowhere. Panic started to set in as she looked around, her eyes scanning every inch of the room, when she noticed on the table. She walked over and picked it up. It was a letter. As she started to read, a few seconds later, a loud scream could be heard through the entire household. Minato flashed out of bed, rushing toward the sound of a scream as he arrived. He arrived towards the room as he saw a piece of paper hitting the ground. Kushina threw the windows open as she leaped through, crashing on the ground outside. Minato was about to chase after her as he picked up the paper, wondering what was. His eyes quickly scanned through it as fast as possible. His eyes went wide with shock. Dropping said paper, Minato flashed through the house like a breeze, checking every square inch of said house. Once he had checked it, he rushed outside. A moment later, both Mito and Natsume arrived in Naruto's room, seeing the door wide open, the window wide open. They both looked at each other. What's going on? Wait, where's Naruto? Natsume said. Mito bent down as she picked up the paper. As she started to look at it, Natsume looking over her shoulder, as the both of them start to read. If you're reading this, then I'm sorry. I know that I've made all of you deeply saddened by what I chose to do, but I see no other way. All my life, I have been nothing but a problem to you all. I know you would say otherwise, but I've seen it on several occasions. The heartache, the heart pain that I gave you all, when you think I would not make it. My life has been nothing but in and out of the hospitals. While I do not enjoy that myself, what I hate the most is the pain that I put you all through. What I hate is the suffering that I put you all through. I know my words cannot make up for my actions of just leaving, but I do hope that one day you'll be able to forgive me for leaving like this. I want you guys to move on with your life. Don't worry about me. I treasure the moments that we spent together. I love each and every one of you. And despite everything I've been through, my life has been wonderful with you all. Mom, Dad, Mito, Natsume, I'm truly sorry. But by the time you're reading this, I'm long gone. I know my words is hard to make up for my actions, but please, I need you guys to move on as well. I'm begging you. Be happy. And enjoy your life. Natsuma and Mito, I know that you guys will become two of the greatest kunoichi to ever walk this earth. I'm sorry. I wasn't there to see you guys become two of the most badass kunoichi in this world. Take care of yourself. And be there for mom and dad as well. And live the greatest life that you can live. I guess that's pretty much it. I just want to tell you guys how much I love you. And I'm sorry for my actions. But I have to go. I don't want to see you guys suffer because of me anymore. I don't want to. So goodbye. Love. Your brother and son. Naruto Namikaze. The paper fell as trails of tears start to fall down both of the girl's eyes. After reading through that, Mito collapsed to her knees. Natsume. Knees buckled, but she did not fall. As she looked towards Naruto's bed, No. No, she said, a frightened expression on her face. Her sorrowful sadness came out in a violent scream. Naruto, she yelled. Time skip. Footsteps pounded through the forest. Moving with immense speed, two individuals blasting through the forest as fast as possible. Making their way, they finally burst right through the foliage to show that it was none other than Kakashi Hatake, otherwise known as the Copy Ninja, as he was followed by Tenzo. Tenzo being an extremely powerful Anfu operative. However, he was in the right place at the right time to assist on this retrieval mission. The retrieval mission entailed them stopping Kushina from crossing the border. You could not just cross the border into another nation without being called up for doing something suspicious or maybe trying to gain an upper hand on your enemy. And in this time of peace right now, they wouldn't want to start something with another nation. And there's also the fact that they could not let anyone know that Naruto was gone. If another nation was to find out about Naruto's disappearance, they would stop at nothing to get their hands on the son of Minato Namikaze and one of the rare Uzumakis as well. There she is, said Kakashi as he arrived. Kushina, stop! You cannot go over! Kushina turned towards him as she was still in her nightgown. She had not changed. The moment she had read the letter, she had burst through the village, using her sensor ability to try and pick up Naruto. She had run right through the gates when she could not pick him up anywhere, and she had searched, running through the land of fire, spreading her senses as wide as possible. She would search the entire world if she has to. The look that she sent them sent shivers down their spine. It was a truly terrifying one, as she was about to jump across until Tenzo went through hand sign, wood style, wood locking bind, he said. Wood vines rose from the ground and wrapped around Kushina as he tried to restrain her. Let me go, she yelled. I'm sorry, Kushina, but we can't, said Kakashi. You cannot go across. You know the implications of what this will start. My son is gone. I don't care what it will start. Now, let me go, she said. A furious glare sent his way. Despite the hateful glare, Kakashi could not back down, as Tenzo started to sweat. A cracking sound could be heard. It was breaking. I said, let me go. Kushina ripped her arm out, literally tearing right through it. Tenzo was shocked as she released chains. Said chains shot towards the both of them. They had to jump away, allowing Kushina to rip herself out of it. She leaped forward until someone grabbed her hand. In the blink of a flash, Minato appeared because of the kunai that Kakashi had. As he grabbed Kushina's hand, she turned around as she threw a fist, intending to pummel him to let her go. She did not even know who it was. He brought his hand up as her fist slammed into it, pushing him back a bit. However, he gripped her wrist. There was a sad, mournful look on his face. Tears were streaking down Kushina's face as she tried to get out of his grip. Minato, we have to find him. Come on, let's search, she said. With you and I doing this, we can find him. As Minato looked down, before looking back up. I'm sorry, Kushina, he said. I cannot let you go across. The stress that this was placing on Minato was immense, being the Hokage knowing the implications of if Kushina crossed over towards the land of rice, which was not allied to them. It would seem like Konoha was being a bully, trying to enter other regions without notifying the daimyo first, and that would start so much complications that would just lead into chaos. He had the trackers and Inuzakas searching through the entire land of fire. Seeing that this was not a mission, they would have to get permission from the daimyo of the land of rice. And they could not tell the daimyo exactly what they want, which would seem suspicious, because he could not tell them that his son was missing. However, they still did not know if Naruto had crossed over the border. Given Naruto physical limits, Minato believed that Kushina might have missed something. Before Kushina could let her wrath out on Minato, an envoy appeared as he bowed. "Sir, we found something." Kushina snapped her gaze, appearing that, a moment later, Kushina collapsed down to her knees as she cradled the small necklace. Mito had asked her help to get this made, so she knew that Mito had left it for Naruto. However, what truly terrified her was the blood. The amount of blood that she saw, that was all over the area. Naruto did not have that much blood to begin with, and not to mention him not possessing a healing ability, meant that whatever happened, you would not survive. As she saw the branch, she saw the marks on it. It was like it punctured through something. Someone. As she followed the trail led over towards the edge, into the river. Kushina collapsed. Minato was by her side in an instant as she wrapped her arms around him. As she fell into a pit of despair, the Anvu standing there, several of them looking towards a gigantic crater that was formed. Having no idea what could have possibly done this, but with this much blood and the necklace, the possibility of him living through this even after that fall was less than 2%. As Kushina cried, not even Minato could hold it up together, as his tears started to fall from his eyes, as he held on to his wife, holding her with deep, longing despair in his eyes. As Kushina just cried and held on to him, Kakashi Hatake and Tenzo stood, as they stood on the top looking down. A sorrowful look on Kakashi's face, as he looked down towards Minato and Kushina, people that were like family to him. Seeing them so sad made him feel horrible. Yes, extremely so. Time skip. It was early in the morning. A group from Kumo was just returning, back from a mission. A girl was walking as her hands were behind her head as she glanced up toward the sky. "I can't believe it's been 2 months. That was one long mission," she said. She had blonde hair. It was a bit dull, followed by dark eyes. She was extremely beautiful. She was wearing a short-sleeved black shirt with a purple vest of sorts that wrapped from her chest going to her waist, followed by dark purple pants. She also had bandages on her arms, fingerless gloves, and beads on one of her hands. As she walked, glancing over towards her partner, "At least it's finally done, and we can finally return back to the village." Who would think that a simple assassination and eradication of an entire organization would take so long? The man beside her said. His tone was sarcastic, making her glare at him. He had white hair, one of his eyes were showing. He had a dark complexion with a tattoo on his arm, wearing a black shirt with a half white vest and black pants. As he was walking with a sword on his back, there was a third member there. He had spiky, blonde hair, black eyes. He was also wearing a half white vest with a black shirt, black pants as well, as he had a lighter complexion. The three of them were making their way home back to their village. These three individuals were C, Darui, and Yujito, members of Kumo. Yujito being 16 years old, Darui being 18, and C being 17. They had just returned from a rather dangerous errant mission. A complete eradication of a gigantic slave ring that was starting to fester near their village borders, and was also starting to integrate itself in the land of lightning and beyond. So they had to extend their stay for a next month to completely eradicate it and kill the boss. Yes, it was a long taxing mission, and they were finally happy to return home and get some time off. These three were powerful Kumo ninjas. Yujito, also being a Jinjulki as well, the Jinjulki of the two tails, as they came across a small stream, as they kept on walking in some lovely silence, happy to finally be returning home. As they then saw something, Darui was the first one to see it. "What the hell is that?" he said. "What are you talking about?" she said, tilting her head. It was then that Yujito saw it. See, eyes went wide. The group rushed over as they saw a boy. His back was drenched in the water. His whole body seemed to be drenched, to be exact. But his chest area was drying up. He seemed to have been wearing a blue shirt. Seemed to, because right now it was in tatters. His black shorts that he was wearing was slashed in several different areas. "What the hell have this kid been through?" said Darui. He was alive. Yujito knelt down as she looked over him. A child. What could have happened for a child to go through something like this? C held his hand out as he went through hand sign, bringing his hand towards the kid's head. As he started to scan over his body, when he suddenly stopped, C pulled his hand back in fright, causing the two to look at him. "What the hell was that?" said Darui, already reaching for his blade. "I don't know," said C. "What do you mean you don't know?" said Yujito. "And what's with that look on your face? What just happened?" I'm not sure, I felt something strange." "Let me try again," he said, as he was unaware to describe that feeling that he just felt. But this time when he tried, he felt nothing. He seemed to be fine. "How is that even possible?" said Yujito. "Look at him. He looked like he's been through hell." "Well, he doesn't really have any cut on him. And he does not seem to be malnourished like he's been put through a lot. He's healthy." And they were right. The boy in front of them, his hair was now completely white, even whiter than Darui. His hair had even seemed to extend. Despite it being dirty and soaked, it had reached right towards his shoulders. All the malnourished signs had completely erased themselves. His cheeks had fulled out. There was not even a blemish on his body. All the blood had been washed away. This boy was of course Naruto. However, he was unconscious. They looked toward each other. "So what should we do?" said C. Yujito reached down as she picked him up. "What are you doing?" said Darui. "I'm bringing him back, of course." "You don't even know who he is." "He's a child. How could I with a good conscience just leave him out here?" "I guess you're right," said Darui. "Well, at least if we do this, we can find out what the hell happened to him," said C. As they brought him back, as Yujito was unaware of his palm, as his hand was swaying as she held him, there was a 6-pointed star in his arm. So with that, they brought him back to Kumo. Time skip. The hidden leaf. The search had not stopped. It has been a few hours now, close to 15, and the search had not stopped after all. They were trying their hardest, but as the time went by, they knew. They knew. The girls have not been told about what they had found, with a whole lot of blood. Minato wanting to spare them from that in case they actually found Naruto. However, he knew that he was being delusional with that amount of blood. And with Naruto's body already being so weak, he could not even think about that. He was trying his hardest not to. It was like something was painfully stabbing him through the heart and the letter. He did this because he didn't want them to be sad. His son was a very compassionate person, always thinking of others, always thinking of his siblings and his parents' health over his. Whenever they were sad because he was not in a good state, he was always asking if they were okay. He should have seen this. He should have known how Naruto was feeling because of the way he acted towards everything. He blamed himself for not seeing this so early. Maybe he could have done something, maybe he could have changed something, but he failed. His son was now gone. The chance of him surviving out there, even if he survived that fall, was so low that Minato had a hard time imagining it. Kushina had barely spoke since she came back. Right now she was at the house with the girls as Minato sat in his office. getting reports after reports about not finding his son. The more reports he got, the more pain he felt. However, he knew, as the time went by, the chance. Minato released a deep, heavy sigh. The chance was so low. He had already sent word to Jiraiya to return to the village. He needed his help, he needed his spy network. People could not know that his son was missing. They would stop at nothing to hunt his son down and use it against him. The things that they would do out there. It goes to show how cruel this world actually was. Minato just didn't know what to do. The more time passed, the more he knew. The chance of actually finding Naruto was going to be zero very soon. At the house, all of them were in bed together. Mother and two daughters, as they were just there. None of them speaking. Their father was currently leading a large search to find their brother and son. And right now all they wanted was just to comfort each other. The pain that they were feeling was unbearable. The love that they had for him. As they could not even speak. They just lie there with each other. Both of them holding their mother, who had been crying ever since. She didn't seem to have any more tears left. Both girls had not stopped crying either. As they tried to be strong, but it was just so hard. They doubted on Naruto very much, always being by his side. If it was up to them, they would actually feed him every time. Despite him being the same age as them, they saw him as a little baby. And they loved him, they loved taking care of him. He was their little brother, and they cared for him deeply. And now, the girls shuddered to think that he was actually gone, that they would never see him again. As Natsume, I remember, walking into his room and kissing him on his forehead, wishing him good night. They just couldn't understand why would he do this. Why would he just leave them like this? They knew that he felt hurt, that they were hurting as well, but this was going too far. They want him to return, unaware that the scene was rather gruesome that Kushina had found, along with Minato and the Anvus, as they just laid in bed together. Time skip. The Raikage watched as his door opened up as the three enter. He gave them a look. I heard that you arrived some time ago. What stopped you from coming here earlier? He said. We had to stop by the hospital first. Why? Did one of you get injured on the mission? He said, looking at the both of them. Surprised that they would, given the details of the mission. Despite it being an A rank, and because of the quantity that they had to take on, he had sent the three of them. However, they should be more than enough to handle it. No, we found a child. Said C. A child? The Raikage said, confused. The Raikage was a dark-skinned man. He had this air of authority about him. He was extremely large. He was jacked with muscles. He also had blonde hair as well, that was tied back, almost like a braid, going down to the back of his head. He was just wearing a white coat, two massive bracers on his arm, a shuriken-like tattoo on his shoulder, and he was wearing a massive belt that was golden. He had a small goatee, dark, small eyes, and two little mustache, as he was a fourth Raikage of Kumo. His speed is said to be close to Minato Namikaze himself. That was one of the reasons why he decided not to go through with his plan of trying to steal a Hyuga from Konoha, with Minato being alive. He knew that said action would be quite troubling between those times, especially given that Kumo had already tried to steal the Kyuubi Jinchuriki from Konoha once, and she really hated them. So it's best if they just did not start anything anytime soon. However, he was confused by what they just said. As he looked towards C. What do you mean he never got to finish that sentence? Every single sensor in Kumo felt it. An explosion of power. It rocked the village. More so, the sensors were alerted. C actually dropped to one knee in shock, as he felt something overwhelming, staggering. The Raikage quickly got out of his seat. Yujito snapped her head towards the window. The Raikage did not waste any time as he burst right through. Darui sighed, as he could have taken the door, knowing Yujito as well, as she rushed and leaped through the window as well. Her nails extended as she used them to climb the wall. following after the Raikage to find out what the hell was going on. As Daru returned towards C, who could actually sense what was going on. "What is it?" "It's the boy," said C. "What? The one that we brought?" An alarmed look came on Daru's face. He was afraid that something bad might happen if they bring back that boy. But he was just a child. He thought that there would be no negative consequences, but now. They rushed towards said hospital. The Raikage was the first to arrive. His envoys flocking behind ninjas, all surrounding said hospital. The Raikage rushed towards the room as he saw the doctor on the ground outside. The man seemed to have been thrown violently in the wall. As he picked himself up in pain, the Raikage rushed towards him. "What happened?" "It's the boy," the man said as he tried to get up. The Raikage was then able to see into the room. What he saw surprised him. The child was cloaked in a dense amount of chakra that seemed to wrap around his body. He was also hovering off the ground, and seeing that he was not wearing a shirt, the Raikage was able to see it. It started from the center of his palm and wrapped around his arm like the beads on Yujito's arm. It wrapped around and went around until it went straight toward his shoulder and went up toward his eye. As it went over his eye, stopping right at the bottom and emerging right at the top. However, what the Raikage was alarmed by was two things. He was not even that surprised by the amount of chakra, but it was a horn. There was a horn protruding from his head. However, it did not point upwards or point to the side. It went around like it was a crown of sorts, wrapping around his skull, as it was perfectly situated like some kind of elegant crown, but it seemed like it was not fully formed, for it to be connected with the other horn that was not there. The Raikage surmised, seeing the way it was shaped. The boy looked up at him. The second thing that surprised the Raikage was the eye. He was not sure if he was seeing correctly, but that looked like a Byakugan. Could it really be, he thought to himself. He stepped forward into the room. As the boy looked at him, his other eye was closed, as the Byakugan eye was looking him up and down. He did not seem to be fully conscious of what he was doing. Because the moment the Raikage stepped forward once again, the boy's body pulsated before he fell forward. The Raikage reached out and caught him before he could hit the ground hard. As the horn vanished, the marking vanished off his arm. The Raikage turned his arm over as he saw a star right in the center of his palm. Said star started to glow for a bit before it turned black and just vanished. The Raikage was alarmed by this as he turned his gaze to see Yujito. As she was standing there, the others quickly filed in as well. "What the hell is going on?" said Darui, looking over the boy that the Raikage was holding. The Raikage looked towards the three of them. "I am going to need you guys to explain. Where exactly did you find this boy?" he said, as the three of them looked at him. As the Raikage turned his gaze back down towards the boy in his arm, wondering what exactly he was, and that amount of power, not to mention the Byakugan. Was he a Hyuga? No, it didn't seem that way. He seemed to be something else, something different. But what exactly? The Raikage wondered to himself. Time skip. Moments later, after retelling everything from their walk back to the area, the Raikage sat in his chair. In the couch was the boy, as he was just lying there. After having the doctors check over him again, the doctor was not sure what he did to get that kind of reaction. It just sort of happened. But he seemed to be fine now. There was no injuries. That amount of chakra seemed to be dwelling from inside of that mark on his arm. It didn't seem to be any sort of ceiling. If it was something that they've never come across before, and something they couldn't understand. The Raikage was trying to understand exactly where this boy just popped out of, and they just found him like that. "Maybe he's some sort of Jinjuliki," said Yujito, looking towards them. "I thought about that as well," the Raikage said, "but I highly doubt it. There is no seal anywhere over his body except for that mark on his arm, which released no sealing pattern even after thorough examination. But if he is a Jinjuliki, it's something that we've never seen before. When is he gonna wake up? We can just question him on what he is, said Yujito. They glanced towards Darui, him being the medic here. Well, I'm not really sure, he said. The doctors did their assessment and they were right. There is nothing physically stopping him from waking up. He's just not waking up. He's not in a coma or anything. He just won't wake up. So, are you saying there's a chance he can stay like that forever? Said Yujito, as she felt very sorry for him, unaware of what put him in such a state. He did not deserve that. He was just a child. He seemed to be no older than 6 years old. Well, I'm afraid that we'll just have to wait. Wait and see what... The right Kage was cut off as they heard a groan. Slowly but surely they turned their head as they saw the boy twitching. He pulled himself up all of a sudden. As they all focused on him, he then glanced down toward his hand. As he looked confused, he picked himself up before he started to walk towards the door. Yujito stepped in front of him. It was like he did not even see them. Excuse me, she said, wondering why he was not glancing towards their direction. He then glanced upwards. As she saw his eyes. His eyes looked grey. Yes, they were grey. As he seemed to have a hard time looking at her. Like his eyes were being affected by something as he rubbed them. Before he tilted his head, he then reached his arm out and poked her leg, confusing her and the others. The Raikage got out of his seat as he walked forward before stopping behind the boy. Child, he said. Who are you? The boy turned up towards him as he tried to say something before he finally got the grasp of saying something. I don't know, he said. You don't know? The Raikage asked. My name is Naruto. So you know your name, but you don't know who you are. I don't know, said Naruto as he gripped his head. But my name, it's Naruto. The child was confused. He could not remember anything. All he could remember was his name, that it was Naruto. When he tried to remember, he felt pain, followed by a throbbing headache. And it was bad, extremely so. Why can't I remember who I am? Who are you people? Where am I? Said Naruto, looking around as he started to panic, stepping back away from them until a hand rested on his shoulder. Yujito had kneeled in front of him. Calm down, she said. Everything's gonna be fine, okay? She gave him a sweet, sincere smile. As Naruto nodded his head, the Raikage noticed that he took to her rather well. That might be a good thing, a very good thing. This child has power that no child his age should even be anywhere close to reaching. And he would not let something this important and spectacular slip right through his palm. Of course he would not. You said that your name is Naruto, correct? As Naruto nodded, looking towards the Raikage, unaware of the man's title or his name. Well, you're in Kumo right now. Kumo, the land of lightning. Wait. How do you... I know everything else, said Naruto, as he looked at the man. I know about the 5 great nations. Kumo, the Hidden Stone, Kiri, the San, and Konoha, the Great 5. I know everything, but I just don't know who I am, or where I'm from. That's not normal, and doesn't make any sense. Did something happen to me? Where was I before this? Well, we kind of found you. You found me? Said Naruto, turning towards Yujito. Yes, we found you. As we were returning back to our village, and then that incident in the hospital. Incident? Said Naruto, confused. You don't remember? She asked. He shook his head no. She reached out as she took his hand. Something with this. What is this? He said, as he tried to touch a mark, rubbing it away, but it did not work. Well, we were hoping that you would tell us. I'm sorry, but I don't know, he said. The Raikage raised the eyebrow at that. If the child does remember everything except who he was, that means that mark must be new. Someone must have done something to this child and messed with his memories. But that mark, it must be new. And something very powerful. Well, Naruto, said Yujito, you will just have to stay here until we can find out exactly who you are and where you're from. As she glanced up towards her Raikage. He gave Naruto a look as he then spoke. Sending him back out in the world would definitely get him killed right now. He has no idea who he is and where he's from. So I suppose he will have to remain here. The right guy said, not saying that he would return Naruto if he gained back his memories, because from what he could see so far, this child is something that he could not afford to lose. But he will have to find out first exactly who he is, and what exactly does that power of his do. Meanwhile, that conversation was going on inside of Naruto. It was like an open mindscape. There was a woman lying down on an empty platform. There was nothing around for miles. Just nothing, pure darkness. Until she opened her eyes. Her eyes flutter open as the entire place shifts. It seems like her eyes release some kind of force that changed the environment. It shifts between a cold, very cold place between an extremely hot and then a very windy place. However, her eyes did not stay open for too long. She seemed incredibly weak as she then fell back down. Something was wrong. Whatever happened, whatever the merger that forced her to be sealed inside of Naruto was, it did not work perfectly. So until she can wake up, and until Naruto get his memories back, they're both stuck like that. But guys, be in subscribe right here. If you want the next person do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. Remember to share to all of your friends on your social media platform. And also guys, don't forget to go ahead and check out the other channels. Yes, I need a 4 of them, Anime King, and Making 2, and Making 3, and Anime Prince. I hope you guys enjoy each and every one of them. But now, I'm out of here. See you guys soon. Peace.